few years ago, before you were born, the little girl that lived there, she vanished on Halloween.
What happened?
Well, nobody knows. She went out trick-or-treating, and she disappeared.
What exactly happened to the young trick-or-treater who found herself murdered on Halloween night in Cobweb? The 2023 Lionsgate original Cobweb sees 8-year-old Peter developing a relationship with a young girl trapped within the walls of his home. As the story unfolds, he begins to unravel the mystery of the girl's imprisonment, the dark secret kept by his parents, and the untimely fate of a young girl from years before Peter was born. As the story progresses, some details are brought into doubt, and a few lingering questions remain unanswered. But today, let's discuss some of the most pressing mysteries regarding Cobweb and who really killed this young trick-or-treater on Halloween night, all those years ago. Let's discuss the prevailing theories regarding what really happened to her and talk about the ambiguity of the film's ending. The story goes that before Peter was born, a young girl in the neighborhood went missing on Halloween, never to be seen again. As Peter begins conversing with a young girl living in the walls, she reveals a few details about the fateful night. Firstly, she reveals herself to be the firstborn child of Peter's parents, and that it was actually their parents that killed the trick-or-treater. Peter later uncovers the body buried in his back garden, giving evidence to the story that this mysterious being is telling him. According to the girl in the walls, the trick-or-treater saw Peter's sister being mistreated by their parents, and when she went for help, their parents murdered her. For the duration of the film, this seems to be entirely plausible, but this, of course, is until the sister is set free. When Peter finally frees his sister from her captivity, he finds not a tortured prisoner, but a deformed, vengeful entity who borders on the supernatural. She immediately breaks free and butchers the bullies who had invaded their home, showcasing an insatiable bloodlust as she seems to take enjoyment from every death. It's important to note that she wasn't simply defending her house from invaders, but she was feasting, not directly on them, but feasting on her lust for blood. This has left many to question her side of the story on Halloween, asking just how reliable her narrative is. With her very dying breath, Peter's mother warned him not to let his sister free, clearly fearing the evil that he was about to unleash. It now seems possible that it was actually the sister who killed the young girl, with the parents deciding to hide the body and cover up their daughter's heinous actions. So then let's assess this option and see if this might be what really happened. We know that the sister is a few years older than Peter, as she tells him that throughout the years, their father built different entrapments for her. He started with a cage, then eventually to a pit, and finally to her own room hidden behind the clock. As she grew, she learned to climb, to bite, and to kill. And despite her malnourishment and deformities, she seems to be incredibly physically strong. So let's see if we can determine whether or not she killed the trick-or-treater or if the parents did. If she was the one to kill the trick-or-treater, we propose that it happened something like this. This particular Halloween night, she would have likely still been in the cage and not have yet graduated to the pit. We say this simply because she says the trick-or-treater saw her and went for help. This simply could not have happened if she was being kept in the same pit that she was later in the film, because there's no way for anyone to see this pit from the front door without going into the basement of the house and into the secret room. While a cage most likely wouldn't have been within eye line of the door, it would be easier to see through either by a window, a crack in the wall, or by some other means. If she was responsible, then it would mean that she escaped and murdered the child before being recaptured by the parents and confined to the cage. This brings up a few questions. First, why didn't she kill the parents instead of the young girl if she was now free? This would have allowed her to completely escape and run free as she wished. This could simply be because she was too young to kill a fully grown adult, which is the most plausible reasoning. She is only a few years older than Peter, meaning that she could have been as young as a toddler when this event took place. If she did kill the trick-or-treater, then we know she was still able to be taken into captivity by the parents, and if they were able to subdue her, then she might not have been strong enough to take them on yet. It could also explain why the father began to build a pit since the cage was no longer able to hold her back. If it was the parents, however, then it was most likely because she saw the daughter as previously claimed, but this doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. If this is the case, and the sister never broke free, then why was the cage allowed to sit within a direct eye line of the front doorway or a nearby window, And furthermore, why did nobody else ever see the sister when presumably dozens of kids were out trick-or-treating? It seems incredibly unlikely that whatever this cage was, that it could have been easily seen, which leads us to believe that one way or another, the daughter broke free and was on the loose. If this is the case, then it seems likelier that she was the one who killed the young girl, but neither explanation explains why she was so isolated. After all, the trick-or-treater needed to not only be alone when she encountered the sister, but isolated enough to be killed without anyone ever seeing it. There was no parental supervision that we know of, and nothing seems to indicate that she was with a group of friends who could confirm her whereabouts. One possible reason for this, but rather far from the only possibility, is that she was either chased or lured off from a populated street. If the sister broke containment and the parents were actively fighting with her at the time, then the noise could have enticed her to investigate. This could have happened in the basement, the backyard, or wherever the cage was located, separating her from the street and allowed her to go missing for long enough for the sister to kill her without anyone noticing. It could have also been possible that just like she manipulated Peter, that she also manipulated this young child to stray from the known street, asking for help, or perhaps even offering companionship to her. Knowing this, she is far more likely than the parents to murder somebody, and it's likely that she was the one to kill this young girl rather than Mark or Carol. This leads us into the ambiguity of the ending of the film. After recapturing his sister, Peter and Miss Devine are able to escape the house, but not before being taunted by his sister one final time. She says that no matter where Peter goes, he will always wonder if each blow of the wind or creak in the house is her coming to get him, and this is shown over a few shots of Peter after the events of the main story. We see him terrified of his sister's return before she finally reappears, but it's unclear whether or not she is actually there. Based on the way the sequence is shot, it seems that this is an allegory for PTSD, and simply a metaphor for his sister haunting him no matter where he goes. We see within the sequence that some of this is in Peter's imagination, which seems to simply be a personification of his trauma. While this is certainly unconfirmed, and the sister may be there, the fact that the sequence goes out of its way to show that parts of these visions are not real and are just in Peter's head lends evidence to the idea that she has not actually found him yet. Peter, though, seems to be struggling with severe PTSD that will likely continue to haunt him for his entire life, meaning that his sister is still metaphorically there with him, no matter how far away he runs. Always in the night, there is the risk that she will one day, one night, find him. But anyway, my friends, what did you think of Cobweb? Who do you think killed the young girl on Halloween all those years ago? And do you think that the sister was actually there in the end? Does the sequence of events make sense for you? And if not, then what are we missing, or what did we not account for? Thank you, my friends, for visiting our channel today, and I hope that you're having a great one.